All right, we're recording. Welcome to Wednesday, 11 o'clock class that has switched from an advanced class, and we are now considered a easy players level 2 class, and we are using the Black Lowry songbook, at least for this semester. And because they're not publishing these anymore, this is a fabulous transition book, by the way, because it starts all the chords have all the songs in the first part of the book are a continuation of what we did in Conductor Magic, meaning that all the songs have three chords, red, blue, and green. When we get to the middle of the book, the red, blue, and green will be taken away. Aha! And we'll start to just use the regular chords in boxes, and we will start to learn our minor chords. And when we get to that point, I will I will scan to you all at your request chord charts, because I know a lot of you are using the chord charts that are in the backs of some of the Hal Leonard books, but I have an easier chord chart for people that are just getting started. It's just the minors, it's just the sevens, and it's big enough that you can have it right in front of you, and if you forget, you can look at the chart and it'll even tell you which fingers work the best for the chords. So eventually I will be scanning those out to people who wish them, and I think you'll find them very useful. But for the first half of the book, we will be in red, blue, and green only, C, F, and G. Why? Because we still want to get this hand really, really steady. We still want to do pinky on a red C, pointer on a blue F, thumb on a green G. We want every finger to have a white key, C, D, E, F, G, and we want to make sure that the super glue keeps all those fingers super glued to the keys, and you're just pressing and releasing the key that you need. That's part of what this class is about, is getting that left hand so comfortable and so automatic that you don't have to look at it. Because guess what? The right hand is going to start to get a little hairy scary. It's going to start moving all over the keyboard. And I will put fingering in for every song, because fingering is important. Now I want you to do it in pencil. Do it in pencil, because sometimes your fingers don't like what mine do, and that's okay. You can erase mine and put your own in, as long as you're following one of a couple of rules, or I should say all of the rules. One of the rules is, if you are going up the keyboard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you still have more to go, you do not go pinky, 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 pinky. That's not how it works. Same thing if you're coming downhill and you run out of fingers. You don't do thumb, thumb, poke, poke, poke. You don't do that. What we're going to be doing is moving our hand so that we do one finger after the other. You never ever want to do that in a row. You never ever want to do this in a row, such as put another nickel in. You don't want to be doing that. You always want to be shifting your hand so that you have two fingers in a row. I don't care if it's those two or those two or those two, but you always want to have two fingers, one right after the other, if you have notes together. Okay? When you lift your hand and move it, and there are times that we have to do that, it's like taking a breath with your hand, as we saw in some of the songs that we did. And in the middle of the song, we had to completely shift our hand. And that's like taking a breath with your hand and lifting it. So you don't do it in the middle of a phrase. You do that if there's a need to do that, and you do it at the end of a phrase. Follow the lyrics. The lyrics will always tell you where you are going. Will there ever come a time when you don't need help on fingering? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. The advanced classes, I still give fingering as a guide to get people started. If I'm struggling on a piece that I'm doing for a concert, guess what I do? I will sit down and write in fingering because it does help. It keeps your fingers on track until they can learn what that phrase actually is supposed to do. So fingering is very important. And I think if you ask Diane Awe, she will be the first person to tell you use proper fingering. It will help you and it will help your practicing. As one thing we've noticed in music, music repeats, phrases repeat, and when we use the same phrase in a different part of the music, make sure your fingering is the same, because that's what your muscles are going to help you with. They're going to help you with that muscle memory. Oh yeah, I played this before and I use these fingers. Your fingers will actually remember where they were. So muscle memory and consistent fingering is the key to fingering. You will not have your hand, as we found out before, C, D, E, E, F, G. It's not going to sit there. It's going to be all over the place. And Amazing Grace, our first song for today, which is the first song in the Black Lowry Songbook, is for sure going to get you all over the keyboard, because you're stretching from a low G, and eventually you're going to have to make your way up to a high G, which is a whole octave, and you're going to have to do some stretching of fingers in between. So don't ever assign keys to these fingers. I did a little bit of research to find out a little bit about Amazing Grace. It's just one of those classic standard songs that we've always known. But what do we know about it? What actually do we know about Amazing Grace? It was a Christian hymn published all the way back when our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents in 1779. Wow, how did they even have records at that time? But they did. The words were actually written in 1772 by English poet and clergyman John Newton. Now, his background, he was in the British Navy, so he was a boatman, and he actually got involved in the Atlantic slave trade, naughty, naughty, in 1748. And when a violent storm battered his vessel off the coast of Ireland, he had his come to Jesus moment, and all of a sudden his life was changed. So he eventually got out of the slave trade. He got out of ships altogether. He began studying Christian theology and later became an abolitionist. Funny, God works in very interesting ways. The hymn became newly popular during a revival of folk music in the United States during the 1960s, believe it or not. So it's been around for centuries, not just decades, but centuries. And it's still a fabulous song today. It is written as a waltz. Now what that means, that 3/4, let's review. You have a 3/4. Now what does that mean? That means that you will have 3 beats to a measure. Uh-oh, what's a measure? Let's review. A measure is everything in between these up and down bar lines. And no, that's not the bar where you go to get your bourbon, David. So in between these bar lines is a measure. And everything adds up to that top number, which is 3. Okay, let's go to the bottom number. What does that mean? Well, it's written on the bottom like a fraction, 3/4. So that tells me that the quarter note gets 1 beat. Well, what's the quarter note? Let's review. It's this black note with a stem. Every time you see one of those, and it doesn't matter, by the way, if the stem goes up or down. Why does it go up or down? If it's on the high side of the staff, the stem will go down. If it's on the low side, the stem goes up. That's so that if you look, if all the stems went up, guess what? They'd be running into the chord. And if all the stems went down, all the lower ones would run into the lyrics. So all that stem up and down stuff is just to keep it on the staff. So the quarter note is the black one with a stem. The white one with a stem is a half note, and that gets 2 counts. So it goes to reason that 2 counts plus 1 count, there's your 3 per measure. You also have eighth notes right here. The eighth notes are the black ones with stems and a flag. Now you could have had two of them, the flags could have been separate, but they didn't write it that way. They grouped them to make it easier for us to read. Why? Because two of these equals one of those. All you have to know is play it a little faster. Don't get caught up in the counting. Let me do that. That's my job. Let the instrument do that. That's its job. And you're just going to be like you're playing along with the radio. Why do you need to know what the counts of the notes are? Only if you have a song that you don't know. If you don't know the song, it's a lot easier to know, okay, these go a little faster, these go slower, then you can kind of pick out the song. But with today's technology, we don't even really need that, because guess what? If we don't know a song, go to YouTube, go to Alexa, play the song, get a couple of different versions, and get it in your head before you actually start playing it. That's going to make it very much easier to learn your song. All right, now there's a strange one right here. We have not had one of those before. You have three notes, three black notes that have stems, and they're all connected with a flag, but there's a little 3 underneath it. That means that it, excuse me, that it is an eighth note triplet. An eighth note triplet. And those 3 notes equals 1 count. Again, that goes just a little bit faster, and you play them nice and evenly over the course of 1 beat. The easiest way to do that is say in your head the word triplet, 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 and play them and exactly with that, and it's going to come out even. Triplet boom is kind of what the Lowry course teaches you to do it. Triplet boom. Don't forget, you have to get on it, you got to get off of it. Triplet boom. Play the song the way you know it. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. We also have in this song, oh, here comes our favorite Eric. Say hello to everybody, Eric. Here he comes. Say hello to everybody, Eric. If you haven't seen Eric in a while, by the way, see me after class. We can fix that. All right. We also have a note right here. It is a white note with a stem and a little dot. What does that mean? That means it's a dotted half note, and it's the only note in the measure, which means it's going to get all 3 of the beats in the measure. Now this line is a tie, and it's tied to another white note with a stem. Now they didn't even put the letter in it. Why? That's to remind you that this finger stays on that note. Do not play it twice. The tie means you hold it for both counts of the notes. You just hold it longer. Just hold it longer, and it's going to be absolutely fine. All right. We also know that this song will repeat. You play it once, and it will repeat a second time. We have one lone little quarter note at the beginning of the song. Okay, it's displaced. It's homeless. What beat does that mean we start on? We can't start on the first beat because we'll totally be off count. It's the third beat.
Third.
It's the third beat. Where are the other 2 beats? Are they lost in space? Guess what? The last measure has only 2 counts. It's a quarter rest, which is that squiggly line, 1 count, same count as a quarter note, and a quarter note that's tied to this note right here. That's where the missing beats are. Why? Because music is mathematical, and every single measure has to add up to 3. So if they divide one, part of it will be at the beginning of the music, part of it will be at the end of the music. Being that this is a waltz, when you are by yourself, not now, if you play along with me now, and I hope that you all do. I love to have you all play with me if you can. Make sure that you're muted when you play along. Make sure that you have the easy only on, and choose any sound. Choose any sound you like. Usually a nice organ sound. Usually that power-up organ sound is the best. Or if you don't have a power-up, sometimes your organ powers up to a piano and strings. I would take the strings off and just push one of the flutes, one of the organ sounds. Why? It's a nice sound. It's a nice, forgiving sound for when you're just learning. And then you're going to play along with me, and you'll hear my beat. So when I'm not with you, then you have to put on a waltz. And some of you have it in song setup, and it does come up to something called soulful in this organ, which is under gospel, but it counts to 3. It does count to 3. Any waltz will work. Some of them are going to make you feel better to play the song than others. For example, a jazz waltz might not be exactly the way you want to go with this, or a Viennese waltz might not be exactly the way you want to go with this, but an easy waltz, a basic waltz, a country waltz if you want to have Willie Nelson sing the song, anything that makes you feel like playing Amazing Grace. Song setup does bring it up to 75 beats per minute. What is that number? Let's review that number. 75 beats a minute. If you look in the screen of your window, of your organ, you will have, whoops, I pressed the wrong thing. You will have something called tempo, and there will be a number. Even if you have a little screen, it will have your number in there. What is that number? That number is beats per minute. And what that is how fast the organ is playing. If I were to count the beats, I don't need the intro. If I just counted the beats, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I were to sit and count those beats for 1 minute, it would come up to 75. So that what that means is that the higher the number, the faster it's going to go. The lower the number, the slower your song is going to go. And when you're just learning, you always want to make sure that it goes slow enough that your fingers can keep up. Now remember, there are 3 elements of music. You've got the left hand, which is down here. That's your chords, right by the red, blue, and green. That never moves, by the way. It's going to stay there forever and ever. This hand is going to be all over. And you have the rhythm, which is what the rest of the instrument is going to do for you. That's the only one you're not allowed to use today. Okay, when you're in class, you just put it on easy and follow my rhythm. Follow the rhythm from this beautiful organ. And when you're not in class, then make sure you do put yours on, because you want to be held accountable. Let's review how to practice. You don't just want to play the right hand. Of course you can. You can. I'm not going to tell you absolutely can't. But I would prefer that you practice it with a rhythm. Now, with a rhythm is a little tricky because that's a lot of stuff going on, and if I don't change the chord, it's going to sound very strange when I get to a blue one. If you do a no chord, remember how to do the no chord? It's that NC at the beginning of the song. It's any 3 keys in a row. Now, it can't be 3 white ones. It's got to be 2 whites and a black, 2 blacks and a white. I like F and G with my thumb and pointer on F sharp. But listen to what happens. Now the drums keep going. That's going to keep you accountable for your timing. And your timing will get good right from the beginning. If you make a mistake, doesn't matter. If you get off count, you do have your colors right here. Red, green, green, red, green, green. 1, 2, 3. So if you get off count, you can look at this and get back on count. Because guess what? We all get off count, even me. So don't worry about it. But the more you do it with that drum beat only, the faster you're going to have good timing. Timing seems to be the #1 thing that people struggle with. Come on in, Rebecca. I'm still letting people in. So this will help you with your timing. If your fingers cannot keep caught up to that drum beat, slow it down. Make sure that it matches how your hand is playing. Now, how do you practice the left hand by itself? What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to sit here and count. Red, 2, 3, 1, 2, blue, 2, 3. No, don't do that, because now you're counting and you're not making music. But I do want you to use the rhythm, keeping your hand exactly where it's supposed to be. Touch and release the chord, but instead of playing the melody, you're going to sing the melody. Now, you don't have to sing out loud, but you can. You can sing loud. You can do it in your head, but follow the lyrics. Now, if you're having a difficult time following the lyrics of a song because you don't know the song very well, guess what works? La 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 works just fine. But just make sure you're singing that melody right here so that your chords actually are learning to stay in this position and are keeping super glued to the keys. You don't want to be doing this or this. And if you're not thinking about it, that's what's going to happen. Or this, that. You don't want to be doing that. You want to keep your hand super glued and just touch and release the one you need. Sing the song. Touch and release. Sing the song as you go. Okay. When you are ready, then you start putting the three together. When you put the three together, do it in phrases. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. And stop. Usually it's about 8 measures. 8 measures at a time is a really good phrase for practicing. And try getting the two hands together with the rhythm. With the rhythm. If you don't use the rhythm, your timing's going to be off right off the bat. I know some teachers recommend using just the easy and the melody. I don't. I don't recommend that because I think you need to have that sense of timing already in here. It's got to be in here so that it comes out nicely and it gets the two hands together quicker. So practice alone with the rhythm, just your no chord and the melody, just your chords, and sing the song. Okay? Make sense? Now, if you're close to your organ, whoops, we got to do fingering first. Forgot all about that. I was going to have you start playing with me. Can't do that till we get fingering. Use a pencil because, like I said, you might not like what my fingers do, but it's a good guide to get you started. All right, here we go. G1, C3, that's a stretch. E5, C3, E5, D4, C3, watch this one, A2. If you need to put a little arrow on that one, go ahead, because it's reminding you that that's not normally the finger you'd want to put on there. It's just a heads up, tricky fingering. A2, second line, G1. G1, C3, that's a stretch as well. E5, C3, E5. Put an arrow on the D. Here's what I did. If you notice what I did, I just put a little arrow pointing to the D, and you're going to put a 2 on it. And again, it's not conventional fingering. It's just to remind you, heads up, this fingering is not what you think. D2, E3, F4. Third line, G5. E3, G5, G5, E3, C1. A2, circle the 2. That is your visual cue that you will be crossing over. Now when we get to that point, let's just put on a piano. I'm going to cross my pointer over and I'm going to have to skip a note. You're going to cross that pointer over the thumb. And I'll try, when I'm playing, I will try to bring this in real close here so you can actually see that you will be crossing. Cross over, skip a note. And drag your thumb out from underneath. Cross over, drag your thumb out, and then that G will be a 1. Crossing over happens when you are in a phrase and you run out of fingers in the middle of the phrase and you get to your thumb. Remember what I said, no fair doing thumb, thumb, poke, poke. We have to do a crossover. The rules of crossing over, by the way, you can cross the second finger over, which we're doing here. You may cross over the third finger sometimes. Occasionally, but very rarely, we will cross the fourth finger over the thumb, and we will never cross our pinky over the thumb. Okay? So this one most of the time, this one some of the time, fourth finger very rarely, pinky never, never at all. But I'll always let you know which one I think is the right one, and then you can try it and see if it's comfortable for you. All right, the G at the end of line 3 is a 1. Let's go to the next line. C3, A2, G1, G1, C3, E5, C3, E5, D4, top of the page, C3. And that's pretty much the whole song. Now it's just going to repeat. So if you learn up to there, you're done. Now we're just going to repeat. G1, C3, E5, C3, E5, D4. Second line, C3, A2, G1, G1, C3, E5, C3. Third line, E5. Put an arrow on the D triplet here, and it's going to be D2, E3, F4, G5. E3 at the end of the line. The next line is G5, G5, E3, C1, A2. Put a circle around the 2. That is your visual cue that you are crossing it over. G1, C3, A2, G1, G1, C3, E5, C3, E5, D4, and C3. Okay? Now we all know how Amazing Grace is supposed to sound. Of course, I should not assume anything because you know what that does. If you wish, you may watch my hands the first time I play it. If you want to start playing along with me, please feel free to do so. I'm going to use the song setup the first time. If you want to just listen and watch the first time so you know exactly how the song goes, please feel free to just do that. One, two. Cross over. All right, now I'm going to play it again, but I want to make sure you can see that lower keyboard. I'm going to play it down here. of a tricky spot right there. Cross over. Okay. Any questions about crossing over or that little arrow on going from a 5 on the E to the 2 on the D, where I seriously had to squinch up the fingers? 5, put your 2 finger so you have enough fingers free to go up the line. Any questions about that? Nope, got it? Okay, let's try it. If you want to just do right hand only, just do right hand only. I'm going to go to another setting. I'm going to go to a smooth piano 3/4 waltz. I'm going to use strings and piano on top, and I'm going to slow it down. I'm going to slow it down to 68. We were at 75 before, and this time if you just want to do right hand, please feel free to just do the right hand so you can catch up. Now, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and you come in on the 3rd beat with that G. I might have to go to a basic waltz. This one might be a little hard to hear the beat. I think that's a little easier to hear. That works. We'll do that. I think this beat is easier to hear. Okay, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Stretch, 2nd line. Squinch it up, 3rd line. Hold, 2. Cross over. Let's do it again. Whoops, I did something goofy. Okay, I lost my footing because I looked up to see if my hand was still in the screen, and I missed where I was, and I got on wrong fingering. I knew it sounded okay, but if you were watching for the crossover, I missed it because I had different fingering. So my bad on the fingering. How did your hand feel? Was it a little awkward? Little awkward? Lauren, was it okay or was it a little awkward? It was all right? Okay. All right. Any questions? Let's try this one more time. Hopefully you're close to your instrument. Right hand only. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Two, 3, 1, 2. Cross over. Top of the page, 2, 3. Let's play it again. Second line. 2, 3, hold, 2. Cross over. Okay, let's go over that crossover again. When you're coming down, now this is a tough crossover because we actually have to skip a note. We have to skip a note. I don't know if this is a good angle here. Let's try it up here. We have to skip a note. Pull your thumb out. So when you're crossing over, don't get your hand all into contortions. It's kind of like a spider coming down the hill. And every time you cross something over, the thumb has to come back out. So you don't want to be crossing over and doing silly things like this. You don't want to get your whole arm moving. It's just a nice, easy cross over. You have to skip a note, pull the thumb out, because that thumb has to go right away on that next key. Crossing over is one of the most important things you can learn for smooth fingering and smooth phrasing in your songs. And that little circle around the number is just a visual cue that that is the perfect place to do it. And all that does is remind you. That's all it is doing. Any questions at this point? Let's try the left hand. Make sure your easy button only is on. Make sure you are muted. I will play the melody, and you're just going to play pinky on red, pointer on blue, thumb on green. Focus on keeping your hand super glued to those keys. Get those two fingers up in those black keys between the E flat and the F sharp just a little bit so that you have bumpers. If your hand is all the way down here, it's too easy for your hand to roam around and you won't know where you are. Eventually, this hand is going to be so solid that you will not have to look at it. That's the idea. And it's amazing that after a while you'll go, oh, I didn't look at my left hand. Right now you still have to, and that's okay. That's all right. All right, don't forget that. No chord is any 3 notes in a row, which I like to do F, G, and the F sharp with the pointer. Or you can just wait until we get to maze for amaze and put that pinky on the C. Let's try it. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Red. Pointer on blue. Pinky on red. Now you don't have to keep holding it. Green thumb on green G. Pinky on red. Blue F. Green G. Red C. Green G. Top of the page, red C, and then we'll play it all over again. And sing the song. Pointer on blue F. Red C. Green G. Red C. Blue F. Green G. Red C. Green G. Red C. Okay. The left hand should be starting. You should be starting to feel like your left hand is starting to go a little bit more automatically. If it's not yet, no worries. This is not a race. There is nothing that says my left hand has to be automatic by the time I get to level 2. No worries. Keep working at it. It's just the more you do it, the easier it gets. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And as far as 2 hands together, just keep trying and do it in little phrases at a time. Keep trying. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And all of a sudden, it will happen naturally. It's not a race, and it's different for every single person. So if you're in this class and you're like, oops, maybe I shouldn't be in this class because I'm still doing one hand at a time, so what? That's good. That's fine. Just keep trying. Just keep trying to do the two hands together. It will eventually get there. The other trick is play only the songs you really like. Don't play the ones that remind you of an ex-boyfriend or, you know, your father-in-law or your mother-in-law. Don't play, and no offense to father-in-laws and mother-in-laws, but don't play a song that either reminds you of somebody you don't like or makes you feel sad or or you just don't like the song. Just play the songs that make you feel good, that make you feel like you should be playing. It's not called working the instrument, it's called playing the instrument. And it's a wonderful, wonderful hobby. Okay, we're going to play this one more time before we go. We're going to do right hand only, and then I want you to switch to left hand. So once completely through with the right hand, once completely through with the left hand. If you're there to get both hands together, never let me hold you back. Go for the two hands at a time. Okay, so let's get muted. Mute your microphones, put your easy buttons on, and let's play. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Two, three, hold, 2. Top of the page, 2, 3, hold, 2. Second line. One, 2. Okay, we're going to play it again. If you want to switch hands, please feel free to switch your hands. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Pinky on red. Pointer on blue. Pinky on red. Thumb on green. 1, 2. Pinky on red. Pointer on F. Thumb on green. Pinky on red. Thumb on green. Top of the page, red. 2, 3. Hold, 2. Blue F. Green G. Blue F. Green G. Red C. Okay. All right. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Okay, did you learn one thing today? If you learned one thing today, you are 100% successful. If you learned what an eighth note triplet is, where 3 notes get 1 beat, you are 100% successful. If you learned how to do a crossover today, you are 100% successful. If your left hand is starting to feel more comfortable in red, blue, and green, you are 100% successful. We play music because it's fun. It's the most awesome hobby I can think of. I hope you all join me on Friday for our Name That Tune. Name that tune with a twist, because you're going to have to figure out what the songs are, what the relating theme is to the little group. Okay, that's at 1 o'clock. And I will be playing on the Prestige Plus. If you have any questions for me, you may email me at 5028 at fletchermusic.com. I'm more than happy to answer questions. If you have any suggestions, I'm more than happy to listen. But thank you so much for coming to class today. I think this is going to be an awesome level 2 class, and I'm very honored to be your teacher. Thank you so much. And if you have anything, questions to ask right now, any comments to make?
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Dawn. A great class.
You're very
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you, Dawn.
Yay, good start.
good start. Yes, I agree.
Thank
Good
you.
start. You guys are the bestest. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again next Tuesday at 11. Now you all know how to get here, right?
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Love you guys.